I really don't know what to say about this man, but first things first, man. I just have to come on right here and just send out my condolences to Vincent Jackson and his family because this is his family because this is really I have no words to describe this man. Like as you people know, I was not a fan. You know, growing up as a young boy, I used to be a big fan of the San Diego Chargers. But of course, you know, after the Chargers moved to LA, I stopped rooting for them just because I personally felt betrayed as a person and as a longtime resident, a guy that, you know, grew up in San Diego. I felt betrayed. And of course, you know, that's why I became a Patriots fan. But of course, I thought I would just have to come on here and just talk about this because Vincent Jackson was one of my favorite Charger players growing up. You know, I mean, that guy was just absolutely incredible as a receiver. And of course, you know, when the Chargers let him go in 2012 when they signed with the Buccaneers, I of course was absolutely pissed off because he was one of my favorite Charger players as a young boy growing up, besides LaDainian Tomlinson, you know, and Antonio Gates and Drew Brees as well. And this just absolutely sucks. Like, I really have no words for this, man, because Vincent Jackson, man, another former Charger player that passed away, you know, getting news, you know, because Vincent Jackson will always be a Chargers legend, and he belongs in the Chargers Hall of Fame, man. He made a really big impact for the Chargers. You know, I know that, you know, I know that there were at times where I feel like he didn't show up in Charger games. He still was a great player and a great receiver. And just the fact that he's gone is just unreal, man. It's like first you had Junior Seau, who's, in my opinion, the biggest Chargers legend of all time, pass away. Because I remember when Junior Seau passed away back in 2012, I was in high school at that time. I was a freshman in high school, and some kid on the computer said that Junior Seau passed away. And of course, I was absolutely shocked because, you know, Junior Seau, in my opinion, is the greatest Chargers player of all time. And now Vincent Jackson has passed away. So this is just absolutely terrible, man. I remember when Vincent Jackson had that monster game back in, I think it was 2011. Like, I think 2011 was Vincent Jackson's best in ever season with the Chargers when he had those monster games. I forgot which games it was, but back in 2011, man, Vincent Jackson, he had arguably his best in ever season of his career before he signed with Tampa Bay. And then in 2012, he had his best ever year with the Bucs because, you know, he was also a very big party Tampa Bay Buccaneers team and all that stuff. And he made it for Tampa Bay too. It's that he didn't get a ring with them. You know, I wish that like if only he was now in Tampa Bay, he probably would have gotten a ring with Tom Brady. But just the fact that Vincent Jackson passed away just is absolutely unreal. You know, because I mean, him and Malcolm Floyd were a damn good receiving corps with the Chargers. You know, and it just is just very shocking that another player that was a really good player for the Chargers just passed away. Like, that's just absolutely unreal. Like, I have no words on how to describe it, man, because I mean, Vincent Jackson was a big reason why the Chargers offense was so good, you know, because I think 2009 and 2011 and 2008, those were his best in ever seasons with the Chargers. So those were like three good seasons that he had with the Chargers and all that. And it's just I know that, you know, Chargers also had that whole contract dispute with Vincent Jackson because in 2010 Vincent Jackson he didn't get much playing time because, you know, he was suspended for 3 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. I think it was stemming from that whole contract dispute, and then, you know, he had that whole traffic incident and all that stuff. But 2010, he had a relatively quiet season. But in 2011, he absolutely broke out. And I'll never understand why the Chargers decided to get rid of Vincent Jackson back into. Speaking as an ex-Chargers fan, that's now a Patriots fan. I know I'm probably going to get hate for this, but I mean, I don't really care, you know, because I mean, moving to LA was dumb. Like, the Chargers move to LA makes zero freaking sense. But now, and then like back in 2011, it was the 2012 offseason when A.J. Smith decided to let go of Vincent Jackson for some stupid reason, which I'll never understand why. Like, he could have just paid him the money that he deserved and all that. Because I remember when they tried to replace him with Robert Meacham, that turned out to be a big disaster for the Chargers. But then They signed. Yeah, and they signed Denario Alexander, but of course, he had that one good year for the Chargers back in 2012 when they signed him off of the free agency, and then he got injured, and then that was the end of Denario Alexander's tenure with the Chargers, because he looked like a really good replacement for Vincent Jackson at times. But I mean, it just absolutely is unreal that he passed away, because he made a big impact for the Buccaneers too. But thing is, man, Vincent Jackson, he retired at the end of the 2000s. He retired back in 2018. But I mean, whatever happened with Vincent Jackson, man, that is just really devastating news, because it just sucks to see another former Chargers player just gone. Like, it really does. It really just is just shocking to hear that a former Chargers player would pass away. And it's like, first, like, I think that this is without a doubt the worst news of losing a former Chargers player besides a Junior Seau, passing away and all that stuff. And it's just and it's like, I still remember the memories that Vincent Jackson had with the Chargers, even though I never went to any Chargers game, despite, me being a San Diego native. I mean, I can remember some of the crazy moments he had on TV, Phillip Rivers throwing him those deep vertical routes, throwing those deep bombs to Vincent Jackson, like, to help put games away. Like, those were fun times, And I remember when Vincent Jackson was drafted in 2005, he was injured for most of the season, but then in 2006 season, he had a pretty relatively respectable season. He had 6 touchdown passes for 400 yards or something like that. And then I remember that game against the Seahawks back in 2006 when Phillip Rivers threw a last-second touchdown pass to Vincent Jackson, and then the Chargers won that game. And then 2007, Vincent Jackson, he had 600 receiving yards with 3 touchdowns, which was kind of like a down year compared to his previous year. And then 2008, that's when Vincent Jackson really exploded with the Chargers with 1,098 receiving yards for 7 touchdowns. So 2008 was the year that Vincent Jackson officially established himself as a big target for Phillip Rivers to throw the ball to, a big weapon besides Antonio Gates. And then 2009, he had another respectable season with the Chargers with 68 receiving yards for 1,167 yards with 9 touchdowns. And then, of course, he had that great playoff game against the Jets against Darrelle Revis, because the thing about Vincent Jackson was that he had that good game against Darrelle Revis when he was just absolutely torched prime Revis in his career. Like, if you guys remember that Chargers-Jets game back from 2009 when Nate Kading missed 3 freaking field goals, and if only he hadn't missed any of those field goals, Chargers maybe would have won the Super Bowl that year. But of course, Chargers have just never been able to catch a big break, especially in the playoffs, because that was, without doubt, in my opinion, Vincent Jackson's best and ever performance with the Chargers was when he recorded 100 receiving yards on Darrelle Revis. Like, that just goes to show that Vincent Jackson was a good player for the Chargers, and then they just didn't want to give him the money that I think he deserved. Like, I don't get why they didn't pay him his money that he deserved. How did he die, Anthony? I have no clue, man. I really have no idea how he died. But I just got the news now on Twitter, and that's why I thought I would come on here and talk about this, because Vincent Jackson was one of my childhood heroes when the Chargers were still in San Diego and all that. And it just really is very just shocking to hear that he would just freaking pass away. Like, this is possibly the most shocking news, like, any Charger fans probably would have gone since Junior Seau passing away. And of course, this makes me wish that the Chargers had stayed in San Diego, because if the Chargers had still stayed in San Diego, I still probably would have been a fan and, watched the games. And, and then when they moved to LA, I felt betrayed. I personally felt betrayed, but hey, that's just me. And then 2010, he had that whole contract dispute. 2011, he had a good season. 2012, and then 2011 was the last time Vincent Jackson played with the Chargers. And to this day, I still think that the Chargers made one of the most boneheaded moves in letting him walk and sign with the Buccaneers, because in 2012, I remember when the Chargers offense was just absolutely terrible, despite them having a really good defense in 2012. The offense just absolutely sucked, and then you had that whole offensive line issue where Phillip Rivers just didn't have any time to throw the ball because the Chargers O-line was just so bad. And then in the 2012 season for the Bucs, though, Vincent Jackson had a promising had a really good season for him. Then 2013, he had another good season. 2014, that was the last time in his NFL career that he would have a 1,000 receiving yard season. Before 2015 and 16, he because of injuries and all that stuff, and then that's why and that's what led to Vincent Jackson retiring. So Vincent Jackson, in all, man, he had a really great, respectable career with the Chargers and Buccaneers. He was without a doubt an underrated wide receiver. Sucks that he never got a chance to win a ring, but I just don't know what else to say about this devastating and tragic news about Vincent Jackson's passing, because, despite me being a Patriots fan, it always hits me still whenever a former Chargers player, passes away, especially like with Junior Seau passing away and now Vincent Jackson. Like, that's just absolutely shocking news to hear, man. So anyways, guys, I had to make this stream just because I thought that this was the best way how I could, pay my respects, to Vincent Jackson and a former Chargers player, despite me being a Patriots fan. So anyways, guys, that's it here with the stream, because I got nothing much else to say here except that I want to send out my condolences to Vincent Jackson and his family. And Vincent Jackson will forever be a Charger, just like Junior Seau will forever be a Charger. And see you guys in another stream. And Vincent Jackson, may he rest in peace. And sending thoughts and prayers out to his family. So that's all I have to say. Peace, y'all.